Good morning. Happy Valentine's Day. Welcome to the February 2018 Public Safety News Conference for the City of Winston-Salem. I'm Trey Mayo, the city's fire chief, and the order of presentation this morning will be fire, then police, and emergency management. I'd like to start this morning with by honoring the fire department's line of duty death for February. On February 10th, 1934, Lieutenant Gilbert Kimball responded on Engine 6 to a building fire at the corner of Bidding Road and Country Club Road. On arrival, they were responding. On arrival, they found heavy fire conditions in the garage. Lieutenant Kimball and another firefighter suffered injuries after the garage roof collapsed on them. Both were transported to North Carolina Baptist Hospital, and Lieutenant Kimball passed away the following day. Unfortunately, here we are 84 years later, and we're still losing firefighters in the same ways. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Lawrenceville, Tennessee Fire Department, where 38-year-old firefighter Jason Dickey was killed in a roof collapse Monday night. Since our last public safety news conference on December 14th, 721 people have died in residential fires in America, including 16 firefighters. Please join me in a moment of silence to honor the fallen. Thank you. I'm now going to turn the podium over to two members from our Fire and Life Safety Division. Inspector Rodney Cooper is going to talk about safety, about auxiliary heating sources, space heaters, kerosene heaters, those sorts of things, and also how the fire code applies to abandoned buildings. And then Fire and Life Safety Educator Sabrina Stowe is going to give a rundown on this coming weekend's Public Safety Black History Celebration and an upcoming recruiting session. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Chief Mayo, for the introduction. As our days tend to get somewhat warmer, we're still experiencing some of the colder nights, even though it's approaching spring. And what I would like to discuss with you is some of the ways to stay warm, yet still continue to be safe. Alternative means of heating, such as kerosene heaters, can cause fire explosions, asphyxiation, and also pollution in your homes. What we would like for you to do is first make sure you're using the correct fuel. No diesel fuel, no gasoline, just the 1K grade kerosene oil is what you should be using. As with any type heating device, make sure that you are giving proper distance, keeping them away from clothing, from furniture, children, pets, so on and so forth. With kerosene heaters, we ask that you continue to let them stand still. If you have to move them or refuel them, make sure that they're turned off and cooled completely. Cool to the touch before you move the kerosene heaters. They can and will produce carbon monoxide, so make sure that you have the proper ventilation in your home. And with any type of heating device, and you'll hear me discuss it even further a little bit later, make sure you turn them off before you go to bed. Another type of fuel heater is a fireplace. These are used throughout the city, throughout the country, and the correct thing to do here is make sure that you use the proper fuel even with the fireplaces. And the proper fuel consists of clean wood. So we ask that you not use any pressure treated wood, soiled, wet, green, or painted. Again, make sure we keep the proper distance. No combustibles such as the blankets, rugs, fuel, kids, pets, so on and so forth. With a smoldering fire, make sure that it's not unattended, that you're always in there, around it, and with it. And when you have to remove the ashes, make sure that the ashes are actually cool to touch, and you remove them and place them in a metal container. Electric heaters. We find these quite often in certain businesses through doing fire inspections, and we ask that you do the same with them as you do in your home as you do in the businesses. We have to keep them at least 3-foot clearance away from anything that's combustible, meaning anything that will burn. Make sure that you get the proper type of heater. A small heater is inefficient in a large room, and an oversized heater can be dangerous in a small area. Make sure that these are plugged directly into an outlet. If it's plugged into a surge protector or power strip or an extension cord, it can actually overload that unit and cause a fire. And that's something, of course, that we don't want. You're trying to stay safe, you're trying to stay warm. As far as sleeping with the heaters, they may not pose as much of a threat as the kerosene heaters or the fireplace, but we still ask that you turn them off before you go to sleep. Alternative heaters. I've heard back in, days of my grandmother where they would do certain things to stay warm. They would turn the stove on, well, the stove is actually designed to focus heat in one specific area, just for that pot or just for that oven. It's not designed to disperse heat, so the ovens and stoves are not a good idea to use for an alternative means of heating. Never use an outdoor barbecue grill or an outdoor heater inside. It's very, very dangerous. And if you choose to use an outdoor heater, such as the middle picture, make sure that when it's used outdoors, that it's not around any of your doors or windows to your home. Carbon monoxide poisoning. You heard me mention earlier about carbon monoxide and how some of the fuel heaters can produce this. Well, here's some other things that can produce carbon monoxide. Of course, we've all heard of cars running in a garage can produce carbon monoxide. But these are some of the areas that you'll also find. As discussed previously, gas or wood burning fireplaces, portable kerosene gas heaters, and you see some of the others here. Make sure the chimneys are being checked. Check your furnace, and definitely, of course, do not use an outdoor grill within a structure. These are some of the symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning. Headaches, nausea, dizziness. We see those in both severe poisoning and chronic poisoning. What we ask that you do, we don't want you to try to find the source or see what's causing this. If you start feeling these things, seek medical attention immediately, and then you can later have your home checked to see if there's some type of leak. My second point of contact to discuss this morning is close before you doze. We ask that everyone close their doors to your bedroom before you sleep at night, and there's a reason for that. As you can see in the picture, just beyond the doorway, the room on the other side was under heavy fire conditions. But with that door being closed, you can see that the room that we're standing in, if you're in the picture, is pretty much untouched. And with fires today, pretty much they're burning a lot faster, they're moving a lot quicker, and the reason for that is because of some of the materials that are made into the furnishings that we have and decorations. So please close your door. Should you find yourself in a situation where you have fire conditions in your home and you have to escape, what we ask that you do is to close the door behind you if it's safe enough to do so. Close all doors. It prevents the fire from spreading as fast, and it prevents the smoke from moving throughout the house as fast. And actually, in a situation in Bronx, New York, a person was trying to exit their apartment building. The apartment was under fire conditions. That individual failed to close the door, and as a result, fire spread, and 12 people, lost their lives. Vacant buildings and protection of them, we ask that you continue to safeguard them from any unauthorized entry. Make sure that the doors and windows are closed. This prevents or would assist in preventing an unwanted guest there, especially this time of year when we have those seeking shelter from the cold and possibly building warming fires. So secure these buildings and these homes. Any combustibles that are stored within a vacant structure must be removed. And the fire code pretty much lets you know here about the security of it, how the building does need to be at all times secured with windows, doors, any other type of entry. We need to make sure that we secure those. Now we do, as fire code officials, have the authority to come in and place placards and or signs or whatever else, to make sure that we ensure public safety for all of you guys. Do we have any questions? Thank you, and please continue to be healthy and safe. Next, we have Sabrina Stowe.
Good morning. I'm Sabrina Stowe, Fire and Life Safety Educator for the Winston-Salem Fire Department. Just want to talk about a few things that we're going to have going on this weekend. These are actually going to be collaborative projects with the Winston-Salem Police Department. We host a public safety Black History Month celebration each year. We usually do that on the third Sunday of February. We will be hosting that this year at the Galilee Missionary Baptist Church, located at 4129 Northampton Drive. And there, the police department and the fire department, we honor those who've made contributions to both our departments. In addition to that, this year, we're also going to have a soft recruiting session. We're going to have firefighters and police officers from our recruiting teams that will be there to answer any questions that potential candidates would have about either of these departments. This is just part of our one-team effort that we like to a lot of times collaborate with both of our departments. So anyone who is interested in learning more about the fire department, learning more about the police department, we ask that you come out to this session. It begins at 2:30 and goes on until 4:30 p.m. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Next, we will have our Chief of Police, Ms. Katrina Thompson. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Police Chief Katrina Thompson, and on behalf of the women and men of the Winston-Salem Police Department, I too would like to thank you for attending the February 2018 Public Safety News Conference. As is customary, I want to recognize 5 officers from the Winston-Salem Police Department who paid the ultimate sacrifice during the months of January and February. Patrolman Donald Aldred, end of watch, January 3rd, 1983. Cause of death, struck by a vehicle. Patrolman Aldred succumbed to injuries received 5 days earlier when he was struck by a truck while investigating a traffic accident. Patrol Officer Robert Betrego, end of watch, January 15th, 1994. Cause of death, gunfire. On January 15, 1994, Officer Robert Betrego was shot and killed while attempting to stop a robber at a grocery store where he was shopping, despite being unarmed. The suspect was apprehended and sentenced to life in prison. Officer Betrego had served with the Winston-Salem Police Department for only 6 months. Patrolman Michael R. Jennings, end of watch, Tuesday, January 29th, 1993. Officer Jennings was killed when his car slid into a tree and burst into flames as he was driving down a steep hill. His partner was seriously injured but survived the car crash. Patrol Officer Stephen Levi Amos II, end of watch, February 28th, 1995. Cause of death, gunfire. Officer Amos was shot and killed while he and another officer were responding to calls of shots fired. Officer Amos and his partner were traveling to a training session when they heard a call of shots fired in a nearby apartment complex. Officer Amos drove their patrol car onto the street when they encountered sniper fire. He positioned the patrol car to block traffic and got out to take cover. As Officer Amos exited the patrol car, the sniper fired and the round went through the car and struck him. Other officers were able to move Officer Amos out of the line of fire and transport him to a local hospital where he succumbed to his wounds the next day. The suspect was sentenced to death and was scheduled to be executed on February 27, 2004, until a U.S. District Court judge issued an indefinite stay of execution. The suspect died in prison on January 5, 2008. Police Officer Stephen Amos is survived by his wife, brother, and parents. Sergeant Howard J. Pluff. End of watch, February 23, 2007. Cause of death is gunfire. Sergeant Pluff was fatally shot outside a nightclub after he responded to a call for help from Forsyth County Sheriff's Deputy at approximately 2:00 a.m. 4 deputies were working off-duty security at a nightclub when a fight broke out during a private party. The fighting moved outside the club and several shots were fired, one of which struck Sergeant Pluff. He was transported to Wake Forest University Baptist Medical Center, where he succumbed to his wounds approximately 21 hours later. The suspect was apprehended at a later date and charged with first-degree murder. Sergeant Pluff was a 17-year veteran of the Winston-Salem Police Department. He is survived by his wife and 2 daughters. Now please join me for a moment of silence as we honor our 5 officers, as well as those officers across the country who've paid the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you. Before I share our upcoming events, I would like to thank the women and men of the Winston-Salem Police Department for their dedication and hard work and service that they provide to the citizens of Winston-Salem every day. Our upcoming events: Coffee with a Cop will be held on February 17th, that's this Saturday, at Whole Foods on Miller Street from 9 a.m. until 11 a.m. As was mentioned, Black History Month celebration service will be on February 18th at Galilee Missionary Baptist Church at 3 p.m. The church is located at 4129 Northampton Drive. 4 Winston-Salem police retirees will be honored. The Special Olympics Polar Plunge will be February 24th at Wet n Wild Water Park in Greensboro at 1:00 p.m. Cops vs. Docs hockey game will be March 10th at the Lawrence Joe Veteran Memorial Annex at 7 p.m. Next up, we'll have robbery detective David Sweeney, who will come and talk about bank robberies and provide an update. He will be followed by Traffic Enforcement Unit Officer James Mitchell, who will discuss seatbelt safety. He then will be followed by Sergeant Stan Krabowski to discuss our Operation Medicine Drop. And then FSB investigator Carla Davis will discuss stolen vehicle updates, followed by Sergeant Chu to discuss our recruiting updates.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, everyone. I'm Detective Sweeney with the Criminal Investigations Division. I'm in the robbery unit and prepared a PowerPoint in reference to the recent bank robberies we've had in Winston-Salem dating from November 2017 till currently. These are the list of the recent bank robberies we've had. Wells Fargo on 100 North Main Street, Bank of America at 698 Haynes Mall Boulevard, PNC Bank, Robin Hood Road, Truliant Federal Credit Union, North Point Boulevard, the Wells Fargo Bank, Country Club Road, SunTrust Bank, North Liberty Street, Wells Fargo Bank, and Coliseum Drive. The first one we'll be speaking about is the Wells Fargo Bank at 100 North Main Street. Happened on November 8, 2017 at approximately 9:29 a.m. On November 8, 2017, a black female entered the Wells Fargo Bank located at 100 North Main Street and demanded money from the teller. The female fled the bank on foot after obtaining an undisclosed amount of U.S. currency after placing the money inside of a plastic bag. The suspect was described as approximately 40 years of age, 5'9" in height, and weighing approximately 200 pounds. The suspect wore a red hooded sweatshirt over a beige shirt and dark colored pants. The suspect covered her face with a dark colored bandana and was described as speaking with a deep, raspy voice. Attached are some pictures of that suspect. Next on the list is the Bank of America, 698 Haynes Mall Boulevard. On December 2nd, 2017, at approximately 12:34 p.m., officers with the Winston-Salem Police Department responded to 698 Haynes Mall Boulevard on a bank robbery at Bank of America. Middle-aged black male suspect entered the bank and presented a note indicating that he was robbing the business. The suspect did not obtain any money and fled the bank on foot. This is also a photograph attached of that suspect. The PNC Bank, it occurred at Robin Hood Road on December 26, 2017 at 12:57 p.m. It says at approximately 12:57 p.m., officers with the Winston-Salem Police Department were dispatched to the PNC Bank located at 3333 Robin Hood Road on a reported robbery. Upon their arrival, the officers learned that suspects had entered the bank and presented a bank teller with a note demanding money. The suspect fled the bank on foot with an undisclosed amount of currency prior to officers arriving. No injuries occurred during the robbery and no weapons were displayed. This suspect was described as a black male, approximately 45 to 50 years of age, 5'8" to 5'10" in height, weighing approximately 160 to 180 pounds. He was wearing a black hooded sweatshirt, gray baseball cap, and having a very slight black and gray colored goatee. This is that suspect. Wells Fargo Bank at 4626 Country Club Road. This occurred on January 3rd, 2018 at 12:25 p.m. At approximately 12:25 on Monday, January 3rd, suspect entered the Wells Fargo Bank located at 4626 Country Club Road and presented the bank teller with a note demanding money. The suspect fled the bank on foot with an undisclosed amount of currency. Surveillance shown from a nearby shopping center located within the 100 block of Jonestown Road captured the suspect running southeast behind the business towards Mordon Drive on Highway 421. The suspect is described as a black male, approximately 30 to 40 years of age, 5'11" to 6'2", 160 to 180 pounds. He was wearing a black knit cap, black jacket, khaki pants, and black heavy frame glasses. The suspect also had a goatee and silver cosmetic front teeth. Next on the list is the SunTrust Bank at 4306 North Liberty Street. This occurred on January 8, 2018 at 10:48 p.m. At 10:48 a.m. on Monday, January 8th, a suspect entered the SunTrust Bank located at 4306 North Liberty Street. The suspect threatened a bank teller with a knife while demanding money from the bank. The suspect fled the bank with an undisclosed amount of currency. No one was injured during the robbery. As the suspect reached the parking lot of the bank, he entered into the front passenger seat of a vehicle that was waiting in the parking lot. It's a late model, burgundy in color, four-door passenger vehicle. It was driven by another male subject who is believed to be involved as well in this crime. This is the subject who entered the bank and obtained the money. This is the vehicle and the male subject that was waiting outside. And 720 Coliseum Drive at the Wells Fargo Bank occurred on January 29th at 4:36 p.m. January 29th, 2018 at 4:36 p.m., Winston-Salem Police Department responded to Wells Fargo, located at 720 Coliseum Drive, on a reported bank robbery. The preliminary investigation revealed one suspect was involved in the robbery of this bank. The suspect did not display any weapons during the robbery and only provided a note demanding the money. The suspect exited the bank on foot and was picked up in a white SUV, which was occupied by an unknown driver. No citizens were injured during this incident either. This is the female suspect involved in this robbery. And the vehicle is also attached. It's a white and colored SUV. If you have any information concerning these crimes, please don't hesitate to call the Winston-Salem Police Department. The non-emergency number at 336-773-7700. If you do not wish to speak directly with the police officer, contact Crime Stoppers at 336-727-2800. Crime Stoppers offers a reward up to $2,000 for any information that leads to an arrest or indictment of the individuals responsible. All calls to Crime Stoppers are anonymous, and you will remain anonymous. So please call Crime Stoppers if you have any questions or information. And attached again at the bottom are the 6 unidentified suspects at this time. Any questions?
Does that seem like an awfully large number of bank robberies for this amount, or are they on the uptick?
Here recently, it is it's slightly higher than it was this time last year.
Any theories as to why?
Doesn't appear to be a common trend. This is all 6 separate incidents with 6 separate subjects. Nothing has linked these 6 people together as of right now. Yes, I'll get up with you after. No problem. Thank you. Anybody else?
Are we patrolling more around banks at this time to maybe curtail that? Or
Yeah, we have sent this information to our officers and requested, via email for, officers to when they have a chance, ride through their banks. They are also provided with these pictures, these vehicles, and they know to be on the lookout for, these suspects. All right, next is going to be Officer James Mitchell. Thank you, guys.
Good morning. I'm Officer James Mitchell with the Winston-Salem Police Department's Traffic Unit, and today we're going to talk about seatbelt safety. There's often people that don't believe they should be forced to wear a seatbelt because the common thought is it only affects me, it doesn't affect anybody else. Well, that's not entirely true. It's been known for years that seatbelts save lives. Your life is important to someone else, even if you believe it not to be. As a police officer, it's very difficult when you have to go tell a mother, father, son, or daughter that their loved one is not coming home simply because of the decision not to wear a seatbelt. Seatbelts are the single most effective traffic safety device that you can wear to prevent serious injury or death. Got a little pop quiz for you. What year was the first seatbelt added to a motor vehicle? I'll make it easy for you. Multiple choice. 1959 by Volvo. They've always been known for safety, right? Fact or fiction? 3 out of 4 crashes occur within 25 miles of home. That's fact. So that kind of goes against the thought that I'm just going around the corner. Why do I need to put my seatbelt on, right? Fact or fiction? You can be thrown from a vehicle when riding in the back seat and not wearing your seatbelt. That is fact. That's absolutely right. According to North Carolina Division of Motor Vehicles, 402 people died in alcohol-related crashes in 2016. 462 people died in speed-related crashes that same year. 452 people died simply because they were not wearing their seatbelt, a decision they made when they got in the car. some statistics related to children. 31% of children aged from birth to age 4 that were killed in traffic fatalities that same year were unbelted. They were not buckled in. 24% of children aged 5 to 7 were killed, and 36% of children aged 8 to 14 were killed. Last year, the Winston-Salem Traffic Enforcement Unit, the Winston-Salem Police Department's traffic unit, investigated 29 traffic fatalities in the city limits. That does not include Interstate 40. Of those, 8 people were not wearing a seatbelt. Something that simple. North Carolina law requires every occupant of a vehicle to wear his or her seatbelt while the vehicle is in a forward motion, and it must be worn properly. The result of being charged could cost you $179. Every occupant under the age of 16 must either wear a seatbelt or have a child restraint system and be buckled in properly. If you were charged as the driver, you could receive a ticket for $268, and there's an additional penalty with that. It's 2 points on your license. So let's take a look at some safety tips related to seatbelt usage. You have a lap belt and a shoulder strap. It's intended to go across the shoulder, not under the arm, not behind the back. It's dangerous and it's illegal. That the seatbelt cannot do its job by being in a position that it's not intended for. You should wear your seatbelt securely. Don't have things, bulky items between you and your seatbelt or you and your seat. Make sure you are attached to the seat like you're supposed to be. Wear your seatbelt in every position of the vehicle. Like we said before, even sitting in the back seat, it's not going to keep you from being injured if you're not wearing your seatbelt. Here's a chart for seatbelt safety for children. It's recommended for rear-facing seats from birth to age 3, and then forward-facing from age 1 to 7, and this is depending upon the weight of the child. And then booster seats from 4 to 12, and then of course at age 8 and 80 pounds, the child can be in just a seatbelt. There are many factors in traffic crashes that are not in our control, but as we've talked about, seatbelt usage is completely in our own hands. Do we have any questions? Alrighty, at this time I'll turn it over to Sergeant Karboski.
Good morning. My name is Sergeant Stan Karboski. I'm with the Community Resources Unit. I'd like to take a few minutes and talk to you about the expansion of our Operation Medicine Drop program. Essentially, Operation Medicine Drop is a way for citizens to come in quickly, easily, and anonymously to safely dispose of their unwanted, unneeded, or expired pharmaceutical pills. Currently, we have allowed citizens to come to the Public Safety Center to drop it off. We now have our drop boxes at all 3 district offices. So I have a total of 4 locations that citizens may come by Monday through Friday, excluding holidays, from 8 to 4 p.m., or from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and officer would be happy to take and assist them in doing this. Citizens can drop off any type of pharmaceutical pills, pills in blister packs, or prescription powders. What we cannot take is gels, creams, lotions, anything that can leak, needles, biohazard items such as diabetic testing supplies, aerosols, and we will not accept household chemicals. Are there any questions? Thank you. Oh, yes.
For people who have those other items who can't take, what do you recommend they do with them?
If we'll have a handout for people on how to properly dispose of liquids, gels, so on. Household chemicals can be dropped off at various locations throughout the city that will accept this. There's disposal points for them, and those are on websites. And they can always speak to their doctors or pharmacists about how to dispose of those other items. I'll be followed by Investigator Carla Davis.
Good morning. I'm Corporal C.A. Davis with FSB Investigations, and this morning I'm going to talk to you about motor vehicle thefts and our year-ending statistics, our January statistics of 2018 and our prevention. Excuse me. Between 2016 and 2017, we've seen a 61% increase in motor vehicle thefts. Last year alone, we had 1,360 vehicles reported stolen in the city. 85% were recovered. During just the month of January 2018, we've seen a 14% increase over January 2017. Primarily, these vehicles have been reported stolen, have been left running and unattended with the keys inside. We've had an increase of 29% in arrests from 2016 to 2017. Our offender range is between 14 and 20 years of age. During the month of January of 2018, we've already made 55 arrests related to vehicle thefts and the possession of motor vehicles. Prevention. Motor vehicle thefts are a crime of opportunity. We would encourage you to take your keys or key fob. Don't leave your keys in your vehicle. Never leave your vehicle running or unattended. Close and lock your doors and windows. Park in well-lit areas in a garage if possible. Never leave valuables in your vehicle, especially if they can be seen outside the vehicle. And report any suspicious behavior or vehicles to police. Any questions? I'll turn it over to Sergeant Chu with Recruitment.
Good morning, folks. My name is Sergeant Chu. That's V-E-R-R-O-N, Veron Chu, C-H-U-E. I'm currently the sergeant over the recruiting unit. I'll not talk about Detective Sweeney stealing my opening slide. We'll just talk about that later. I just want to stand up here and give you guys a few updates on our recruiting process. We are actively hiring for Class 73. That is scheduled to start June 4th of this year. Just some of the basic minimum standards to become a police officer up here on the board. Most of them are self-explanatory, except for the third one down. For serious misdemeanors, I think this is the one we get the most questions about. If anybody has any questions when you apply, all our information is at the end slide of this presentation, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions. As far as serious misdemeanors, some of those will classify as your DWIs, your hit and runs, your driving while permanently suspended or revoked license, just to name a few. But there is a whole list by the state that they will not certify you if you have any of those Class B misdemeanors. And again, we'll be more than happy to address those if you had any questions specifically. A couple of months ago, if you guys noticed, on Business 40 westbound into the city, or 421 North, we had this billboard made. It's for our HBCU scholarships. It's valid for any HBCU school here in the state of North Carolina. And essentially, that billboard pretty much tells you that the Winston-Salem Police Department will put you on a scholarship. We will pay for your tuition, books, and fees if you go to an HBCU, and we only require that you carry a 3.0 or higher. You will also have to pass the minimum standards and qualifications to become a police officer, because at the time of your graduation, you do have a 3-year service commitment to work for us as an officer. Again, this is open to anybody that's at an HBCU, sophomore and above. So we will need to see your transcripts to make sure that you're carrying at least a 3.0 or higher. And you pretty much go through the same background check and eligibility testing as you would for a police officer. We also have a cadet program. So this is for individuals who don't have the funds to attend a full-time university. You can go to Forsyth Tech, and if you're within your first year, because we have to see that you again have established a 3.0 or higher, we will pay for you to go to Forsyth Tech, take a criminal justice regimen. We'll pay for your tuition, books, and fees to go to Forsyth Tech as well. Now, this is kind of age limited, so you're looking at between the ages of 18 to 20, considering that if you're 20 years old, as long as you're going to turn 21 by the time you graduate BLET, we can just put you in the academy. but if you just graduated high school, you hadn't quite figured out what you want to do in life, and you want to become a law enforcement officer, we can put you through this program. Essentially, we'll pay for you to go to Forsyth Tech for 2 years, and then once you're done and you're old enough to join our academy, we'll just transition you over into our academy. We are also hiring hot and heavy for 911 operators. They are in dire need. They have a lot of empty seats, and they'd love to fill them. They are another essential part of this police department. Helps things kind of run smoothly. The guys on the ground can't know where they're going without the folks upstairs telling them where to go. So if you're interested in that, we have plenty of information on that as well. And like I said here at the end, if you need to reach us down here in recruiting, area code 336-773-7925, any one of my staff will be more than happy to answer your questions. You can also reach us by email at recruit@wspd.org. And all that information I just went over is actually on our website, so if you need to find any particulars about the application process, the HBCU scholarship, it's all on there at wspd.org. Thank you for your time. Does anybody have any questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
When we last spoke, we were talking about you guys going to various conferences and so forth. How has these efforts helped in recruitment?
So we just started back for the spring to start going to all the job fairs and career fairs at high schools and all the colleges pretty much from the eastern part of the state to the western part of the state. We do get a good bit of interest from all those students who now are looking at graduating or looking to further their career after they graduate. So we do get a bunch of interest from high schools and usually juniors and seniors that are at any colleges that we go to, HBCUs or otherwise.
So would you say you're seeing these efforts, such as the billboards and so forth, paying off in recruitment?
Yes, ma'am. We are seeing a slight uptick in interest across the board for law enforcement, so it's a good thing for us. So at least people are at least paying attention to what we're putting out there. Anything else? Thank you for your time. Chief Thompson is going to come back up and speak with you.
There are no more questions for police. Then we're going to move forward, and next up will be Acting Emergency Management Director Robert Reese.
Thank you, Chief Thompson. Good morning. Welcome again to the February 2018 Public Safety News Conference. I'm Robert Reese, the Acting Director of Winston-Salem, Forsyth County Emergency Management. Last month, longtime Director Milton Sadler III passed away, and most of you are aware of that. And I would like to say thank you to the support we have received from the City of Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, fellow public safety agencies, our community partners, other counties and cities across our great state. It's very overwhelming, the amount of support we've received, and I just want to say thank you for all of that. It has helped us go through this difficult time. I would also like to ask that you continue to keep Mr. Sadler's family in your thoughts and prayers, as well as our staff too. And next we'll go on to a presentation about flooding. It's been kind of dry, and I think I'd read last week that actually we were still in slight drought conditions, and people often have the misconception that it can't flood because it's been dry. And first of all, some background on Forsyth County. 18,000 acres of land, which is 7% of the total land area, are considered floodplains, which some people may not know. And as I said earlier, even if you're not in a floodplain, you may experience flooding, and often occurs when we get a large amount of rainfall and runoff and exceeds our stormwater systems. As I said, it can be dry, but the ground simply cannot absorb the water fast enough, so that's why we get our flooding, which is typically the flash flood warnings and things you see. And the number one thing is to be sure and protect yourself, your family, and also your pets from floodwaters. Listen to your TVs, radios, you know, emergency alert radios. Our smartphones have alert devices as well. So just stay in tune and make sure that we know what's going on. And we want to be sure that you understand that we don't walk through floodwaters. It takes as little as 6 inches to actually sweep you off your feet and become incapacitated. And also remember that these waters are not clean. Often they're contaminated with the sewage that may have overflowed, and also if there's a chemical spill upstream, you could have chemicals in the water as well. And the flooding area, Turn Around Before You Drown is a major campaign we push, along with other partners as well. So remember that. Don't drive past barriers, even if you think it's safe. Often it's deeper than it appears. And always look out for downed power lines. Often these power lines may be down for whatever reason, but the soil was wet or someone's crashed. But that is actually the #2 killer of people during floods is power lines down. So that is a major issue that a lot of people don't realize. And we need to pay attention for animals out there. We have snakes and other things that can be in these waters we're not expecting. Further east, you'd have to worry about alligators and other things that may be coming in as well. And also look out for gas leaks. During floods, often gas meters are broken off or propane tanks are washed away, so we always have to be on the lookout for different types of gas leaks. And also, if you must drink water during that time, make sure you're not drinking water from your well or from a municipal water system until it is deemed safe. If you do have to use it, be sure and boil it for 10 minutes and make sure that it at least 10 minutes vigorously to make sure it's ready for use. And it's important to understand the terms. When you hear the term flood watch, that means life-threatening flooding is possible. And if we hear the warning, that means it is imminent or is actually occurring. And we always want people to be prepared as well. That's the main thing we try to push in all disasters and situations is preparedness. So floodsmart.gov provides great information on flood insurance because homeowners insurance does not cover loss due to flooding. So for information there, you can call them 1-800-247-4661 or contact your local insurance company or go to floodsmart.gov. And as I said earlier, we always want you to be prepared. Please feel free to look us up on social media, readyforsight.org, also on Facebook, and also on Twitter. For more information on flooding and maps of flood insurance, our office can be contacted at 767-6161 or WSFCOEM at cityofws.org. Are there any questions? All right, thank you again for attending the February 2018 Public Safety News Conference. This will end our session.